welcome. Today's recipe is lemon bundt cake. Super easy to make, absolutely delicious, flavored with lemon and a hint of vanilla. I think you'll love this recipe, so let's get started. I'll be using a bundt pan today, which I'm going to grease with coconut oil. Butter really isn't recommended for greasing bundt pans. It tends to stick. You should either use shortening, coconut oil, or a cooking spray, a baking spray. So I'm going to use the coconut oil. I'm going to melt that down, grease and flour my pan, and I'll be back. I'm going to start by whisking my dry ingredients together. So I'm going to take 2 cups of flour, and what I have here is 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda. I'm going to add that in there. I'm just going to whisk that all together. Once I have those whisked together, I'm going to set them aside and start on my wet ingredients. So for my wet ingredients, I'm going to take 2 eggs, 1½ cups of sugar, and whisk those together. This cake comes together so easily. You could use a stand mixer or a mixer, but I find this comes together so easily you really don't need to. Just whisk them together until they're light and fluffy. I then want to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Whisk that in a bit. Once that's in there, I want to take 8 ounces of Greek yogurt. I'm using Greek yogurt today. You can, of course, use regular yogurt. I'm going to add that in there. I'm going to stir that in there. Get that yogurt thoroughly incorporated. The yogurt will keep the cake nice and moist. I'm then going to add my oil, half a cup of oil. Stir that in as well. Two tablespoons of lemon juice. And 2 tablespoons of lemon zest. Oh, that's starting to smell amazing. The vanilla and the lemon make a really good combination, and that yogurt just adds that extra little zing. Really amazing. Stir that all together really well. And then I'm going to add half a cup of water. Mix that all together really well. And it's time to start adding my dry ingredients. I'm just going to start adding a little bit at a time. And stirring it in. Scrape down the sides of your bowl occasionally to get everything in there. I'm just going to add the rest of that. Once everything's incorporated, it's time to get our batter into our pan. I have my oven preheated to 325, and I'm just going to get this batter into the pan. Once my batter's in my pan, I want to bake it at 325 for about 40 minutes or until it's golden brown on the top. And when I insert a toothpick, it comes out clean. So in we go, 325, 40 minutes. Tap it for any air bubbles gently. My cake is out of the oven. It smells absolutely amazing. That lemon, that vanilla smells so, so good. I'm just going to let it cool for a few minutes and then I'll take it out of the pan. To get your cake out of your pan, run a spatula along the sides. And the center. Just a bit, as far down as you can go, without feeling that you're breaking the cake. Check to see if it's loosened. Once you're certain your cake is free from the pan and it moves freely in the pan, then you can just place your wire rack on top and flip it over. While it's still warm, I'm going to brush off any excess flour. While my cake cools, I'm going to take half a cup of water, a teaspoon of lemon juice, and a quarter of a cup of sugar, and bring that to a boil to make a simple syrup to brush my cake down with. And my syrup's done. As we can see, I just let it reduce slightly. I didn't go into a thick syrup, just a very, very light syrup. Still very, very hot. I'm going to give it a moment to cool down, and then I'm going to brush down my cake. So my syrup is still warm, but it's not boiling hot. My cake is still warm, but not extremely hot. And I'm just going to brush it down very gently. This will give the cake a nice color and seal in those crumbs. You don't want to soak the cake in it. The cake is already a very moist cake. And you want to make sure you get all the way to the bottom. At this point, I'd like to mention, if you ever have difficulty getting your Bundt cake out of its pan, if you feel that it hasn't loosened completely from the pan before you flip it, let it cool completely. I'm going to let my cake continue to thoroughly cool, and I'm going to make some icing for the top. My cake has almost cooled, and I'm going to make my icing. What I have here is 1 cup of powdered sugar, 2 tablespoons of milk, 1 teaspoon of lemon juice, plus 1 teaspoon of vegetable oil because I want to keep my icing creamy, and half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So I'm going to add my vanilla extract. Give that a little stir. My lemon juice and oil. Give that a little stir. And I'm gradually going to add in my milk. I'm using milk because I want a nice, bright, white frosting. I'm going to stir a little of that in. And just bring it to the consistency, add milk until you have the consistency you want. Whether you want a thick icing or a thinner icing, glaze, I should call it a glaze because that's what it is really. So there, my glaze is ready. I don't really want to go thinner than that. I want it to drip down the sides of the cake a bit, but I don't want a very runny glaze. So this should be perfect. Give it a good stir, very simple. And that's just the consistency I want for this cake. Like I said, you can go thinner if you like. But I think this is perfect for what I'm doing today. I really like this. My glaze is ready, and I just want to transfer my cake from my wire rack to my serving platter. So here we go. I'm just going to lift up my wire rack and slide my cake into my platter. So I'm going to start by just going around, putting it on the top, and letting it drizzle down. So there, I'm just gonna let the rest of that drizzle down. And we're done. I'm gonna let that set completely, and then we'll cut it and have a taste test. My cake is ready to be cut. I can't wait for this. That looks beautiful. Came out amazing. I can't wait to try it. This cake comes out so good, so moist, so delicious. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. I hope you give it a try. Please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more recipes like this.